This apple trading life isn't always as glamorous as I make it out to be. I mean, am I good at pretending it is? Yes. Is that healthy? No. But I feel like I didn't choose the Apple life. Like apples chose me, like literally some Apple guy actually came up to me and said, this will be your life now, and it will be a life of loneliness. I'm Russell Tyndall, by the way. I'm one of your co-hosts of this Adventure Time podcast, and with me as always is Ned Pruitt, Netty P, DJ.
DJ of the Netty of the P itself.
And it's a shame, Ned, but I think that's what I'm doing. I'm quitting my job. I think I'm going to go off and I'm going to farm apples and sell it. I mean, that's what's so great about two-way communication, right? Is that you can do stuff like that. You can just go and talk with other people and be like, hey, I have this apple. I promise it's not cursed. It's not going to make you shrink. Have an apple.
You can agree to disagree. You can politely disagree.
You can politely disagree. Oh, man. I love it.
Well, if you can't tell,
so good.
Today from Russell's Squirrel, we're talking about Up a Tree. I mean Fionna and Cake episode 3, Cake the Cat.
What? Not Up a Tree? What are the chances? They're going to go and take this random this random ass character from season 5, episode 3 or 4, and go, or episode 5, season 4, episode 5. Is that what it was? Up a Tree?
Mm-hmm.
Season 5.
Yeah, it's wherever
4?
we left off, which was episode, I think 4.
It was
season 4
5.
was Up a Tree. Yeah,
episode 4. I have it written wrong in my notes. It's crazy that they're just like, this is the character that we're bringing back. Fionna and Cake, very special, very fun. Lots of good callbacks. Also, like main characters that we haven't brought up yet. But that squirrel that was voiced by Mark Maron, that's the one. That's the one we're bringing back.
Well,
and it works. I like it.
Yeah, it was very odd. For my fans out there, I'm kind of surprised they didn't do somebody like Toronto in this role specifically. I think Toronto would have been honestly a better choice, but we wouldn't have had the like Cake decides to be the hero. And pretty much like Cake and Fionna have their moment in this episode where they're like going to be like, the Finn and Jake style, protect the citizens of Ooh. So Cake has her little moment with doing it with the tree critters, and Fionna has her moment with the village critters, I'm all going to say.
Okay.
But yeah, I thought this episode had a little less like girthy content, obviously, like, nothing crazy as much as the first 2 episodes, and not as much as the next episode. But I think maybe this one served the purpose of the fact that almost every single character in the marketplace is a callback to an old episode or a background character. And like literally I watched a whole video about it to slow it down and be like, well, what am I missing? Who do am I? And literally almost everybody, with the exception of maybe a few, are like straight like this is this Wildberry from this Wildberry Kingdom episode.
Wow.
And this is the only people, and I'll get off we don't want to like break down all the people, trust me. But my one thing about these people that I thought was kind of cool is that there are pillow people in this little village from Pahoy or Fui or whatever you want to call that episode. It is coming up in season 5, so we will be reviewing that one pretty soon. But it kind of, in that episode, Finn basically, they build a giant pillow fort, and he like goes into the pillow fort and can't get out. And there's like a pillow universe inside, and he lives like a whole entire life in that universe. And then it's like escapes as an old man just like 10 minutes later in the real world.
That's awesome.
But in essence, apparently, also that world is destroyed like by Golb himself. So the fact that there's pillow people in this episode is also possibly indicative that, that we're getting like kind of these multiversal, universal crossovers, that something with Prismo is definitely going awry right now.
Yeah, I was getting a little bit of a sense of that, especially with the ending of this episode.
Oh, yeah.
Where Fionna and Cake disappear. And then also there's the Hot Dog Night number 7 that glitches into a normal hot dog, which was really fascinating during the monologue with Cake, where she's singing her song and honestly kind of being a bad guy. She's just wrecking the market and just destroying everything, or is she just being a cat? I don't know. I'm not a cat person. I don't know.
That was what my kind of deep thought about this was that I think we're like, oh, how does Cake not know that she's destroying? It's like, but like, dude, Cake 20 minutes ago was like, or I guess a day ago because she fell asleep, but was just a cat in an apartment. Like we would not have had expectations about any sort of like higher intelligence. So you wouldn't know kind of what was bad or what was hurting people necessarily, unless, you know, like the squirrel says, you've got two-way communication. So this was probably, she probably shredded everything up and ate everything and destroyed everything. And then once she actually saw people were mad, she was like, I guess I'm not really supposed to do that kind of stuff anymore.
Yeah, no, man. I will say, just for anyone new to our podcast, like I'm new to the show. I'm on season 5. We're going through this Adventure Time one episode at a time. But I did want to say, and this could be a dumb observation, but to what you were just saying, Ned, like Cake is far more like animated and expressive as soon as that voice box gets on her. And I know that's for the purposes of the show, and so that she can be a character and not just be a cat with cat observations the entire time. She can be truly Kate the cat, which is fantastic. But it was fascinating how there are aspects, just like with Jake when we're watching the show, there are moments where he's like being a dog and Finn's treating him like a dog, like he's laying on Finn's lap or something like that, and he's being pet for a moment. And those are moments where Kate's kind of being, I don't know, destructive in a way, or just thinking about herself or something.
Cat moment for sure. And in this episode, climbing the tree, and definitely with the clawing and gnawing, like she's just clawing all the cloths and like ripping up the tree people. I don't think she even necessarily understands. Like she's only seen, in theory, she's only seen humans, right? And so being able to see like walking rocks and trees, does Cake even really know what like sentience is? Or is she just kind of considering these things just to be like just sticks and trees and, you know, a cup of coffee, you know?
Yeah. Hey, second dumb thought. I'll have a new segment this episode. It's going to be Russell has 2 dumb thoughts. If there was an animal in the real world that would act like Cake, would have that sort of sentience and that just like animated nature as soon as they have a voice box on them, it would be killer whales. I swear those things are way smarter than we're letting them, or than we know.
Oh,
you know,
you've been watching all those videos of those killer whales, like.
Yeah, I'm in on it, man. Like I'm in on it. Whatever the conspiracy is, I don't even know. They're just way too smart. And I feel like as soon as we give them a voice box, they're just going to be like, you know, I've been thinking about my life and existentialism, and let me tell you my thoughts on Plato's, you know, like it'd be something nuts. So anyway, it's going to be
something nuts.
But yeah, go back. I think people were giving a little bit of harshness to, or kind of hating a little bit on Kate the cat and the squirrel and the moments that they had together throughout this episode. And like what you were saying, like this isn't as good as episode 1. It's not as good as episode 2. I haven't seen 4 yet, but you said it's not as good as the Prismo episode 4. I think this is, to me, a more natural Adventure Time episode. I think Cake and Squirrel feel like Adventure Time moments that we have. Not every episode of Adventure Time, even up to episode or season 5, have been very intentional, and some of them are, but it's kind of rare and few between. And you have all these moments where you feel like, what did we just watch? Like those frogs are just
very
like
much this episode
dealing with another frog that like has the kiss, is just trying to kiss people. It's like so random, you know? And
I think we're getting a little bit spoiled because this is not supposed to be at least in my understanding, it's not supposed to be like a Fionna and Cake special. It is like Fionna and Cake the season. And so I'm hoping that we get more than just like 6 episodes. Like that would kind of be a bummer for all that hype up. I'm hoping we get at least 10, if not more. And this would be one of the things that would indicate that we're going to get some more content, is that not every episode has to be mind-boggling. This just tied up 17 loose ends from the old show. Like that's what really next week and the next episode does a ton of that. But having like little sprinkles in there, you don't want to just drown people in theories and conspiracies and canon and lore the whole time. It's what people are going to love about the show at the end of the day, but it's going to lose its adventure time if it doesn't. Yeah,
I do think it's 10 episodes. I looked up the list of titles, and I think it was 10 episodes long. So
okay, nice.
Here's the hoping. That's what it ends up being. But Ned, before we go too much deeper into this episode, because we've already talked about a lot of it.
Yeah, we've already just jumped into it. I don't like doing a full on breakdown all the time.
I know. But I got it because we just won't talk about it. We're gonna forget about it. We got to talk about the Finn and Jake moment.
Yeah.
Yes, I need to know. Finn is beautifully bearded, and he's in a crop top. Dude, that is the vibe. This is the Finn that I wanted to see so bad. He feels like he's in peak form. Jake feels a little bit less than peak form to me during this moment. He's breathing kind of hard, and it seems like he's struggling to dodge arrows or spears or whatever. But this is peak Finn for sure. And I don't think we got that in that second episode. I wanted more peak Finn. What are your thoughts on this opening sequence?
There's some thought about this sequence in general, because as soon as it's kind of like wrapped up, we do realize we're watching it because Prismo's watching it, and Prismo's watching it, and he's got 5 o'clock shadow like scruffles going on.
He's looking rough.
He's looking rough. He sees Finn and Jake, and he has like this soft smile with their like adventuring. So if I had a theory, and this, I mean, it's kind of proven in the next episode. I don't even know if this is like even a theory to prove, is that Jake has died in the real world, and that's like I think this Finn in this view looks younger than the last Finn from Simon Petrikov episode. That he's actually going back and like rewatching Finn and Jake's like best adventures, and making him like just to cheer himself up, and that's why when he's ignores the little beeping on the remote that started when Cake broke the portal barrier, he just takes it and he turns the volume up. He's just like so depressed he can't actually like do his work, and he's just kind of imploding into Finn and Jake Grabbles.
It has to be that, right? Because if he was just rewatching another dimension of a similar Jake or not quite the same Jake, that would feel weird. Like,
yeah,
it's not truly your friend. And I thought about that too. Is like, why doesn't Finn go to another dimension and get another Jake similar to his Jake? But you can't do that. You can't recreate those people. Like, it reminds me of the monkey's paw thing that we talked about when we were discussing actually that Prismo episode, where bringing people back, like, you're not always going to bring them back the same way. It won't be the same. It's not going to be the same Jake. There's going to be something off about it, and it's going to bug you. And
well, it's a little bit of that. And,
he has to just be rewatching clips.
I think Adventure Time's not going. They're going on multiverse. They're not going on infinite multiverse. That there's not infinite versions of almost the same Jake either.
Which again, when we started season 5, we got very into
very into that.
all those theories. So multiple worlds theory or whatever it was called. I mean, it's very fascinating stuff. But I just had to talk about it because Jake suits my tops.
Yeah, Jake suit is it was my runner-up tops for sure.
Come on,
you've gotten a little bit of Zergiak Jake suit, but there is a full-on Jake suit episode we haven't done yet, where Finn, like, basically the concept is, Finn's. This is not a spoiler. It's just a good episode. Is that Finn's all about the Jake suit, and he's like beating up bad guys and jumping out of trees and diving into lava, and Jake's like, "Hey man, this actually like hurts my body." And then so Jake actually goes inside of Finn and creates a Finn suit and like pushes Finn to his limit.
That's creepy.
As a Finn suit. Yeah. He basically stretches like into all of Finn's like veins, which is like really creepy. But
okay, but has it always had nipples? I gotta know, because I don't remember that first episode.
Definitely not in the Zergiak episode. I don't think so.
Yeah. Well, in this
Finn
episode,
has
they're
bigger
kind
pecs now,
Yeah, that's true. But they're kind of fighting a Poltra-esque character, the giant chicken from Jimmy Neutron.
From Jimmy
the movie.
Neutron.
Yeah.
I just watched that one the other week.
Oh, nice, man. Dang, we should talk about that one soon. Anyways.
Yeah, that'd be a good special, the Jimmy Neutron movie for sure. Did you get a peep? I want to call this one, I think we have a new canon Finn sword, and I just want to call it the axe sword, maybe? Because it looks like it's got 2 little tiny like axe blades on the side as the hilt.
Shoot. I didn't notice it. That's cool.
Yeah, I don't know where. I mean, obviously we don't know where it came from, but I just like the fact that we kind of have another sword that Finn is using. Put that in the list of like when we do top swords.
I like that. That's good. We'll have to keep that in mind, man. Well, it's a great opening sequence, and even though this is obviously Cake the Cat, the episode, I don't know. It felt natural to me. It felt like, hey, we are not totally going off in like a classic Adventure Time episode. There is the like canonness of this all is going to continue. Like we are going to keep moving forward. Don't worry. Finn and Jake are here for some reason, and you'll find out later in the remote from the last episode. So it felt necessary. It was a little random at first, but I got my tops out of it, and seeing Finn jump into Jake and like do the like, 720 twist or whatever. Yeah. Oh, it felt so good. I loved it.
It makes me excited too, because again, we mentioned this, I think, when Finn was fighting the like river mud skipper last week too. Is that like, I love the fact that we can be more violent. So the fact that they do like a zipper motion to cut off this like mega chicken's head is pretty epic.
It's pretty epic, but you can have violence. I don't know if I like the fact that the way Fiona reacts to the ice cream queen, as I'm calling her.
Oh, it's like she kicks the shit out of her.
She kicks her. She assaults her. Like that's not that's not cool. Is she evil?
I mean, she's not evil, but if we are going into like, we will get the answer next week. I don't want to spoil anything for you either, but based on our theory from last week and like kind of these people living in Ice King's brain or Simon's brain, that, Ice Queen would be there in theory, and she's not going to be very nice to Fiona no matter what.
But Fiona can't just assault people out of nowhere. Yeah, it's crazy.
She did and then rip up her whole ice cream cart and then just kick the shit out of her in her gut.
Yeah, she's kind of the bad guy, and Cake kind of destroys the market and wrecks Simon's apartment. And they're not really, actually bad. I'm just heroes. Crazy.
Yeah, well, and I mean, at this point, they're not really heroes, and I think that's gonna be kind of maybe another theory of mine, is that through this, coming out of Simon's brain portal, being in the land of Ooh, and then what happens at the end of this episode when she kind of beats up all of the little creatures and just sentient things with a stick. Yeah. That was like her first, like, obviously she's not doing anything crazy. She couldn't do like a pole vault move and like fell over when she tried to do that. So like, this is the beginning of them like retraining how to be good and how to be heroes,
But she Anakin Skywalker's that kid. She kills that kid, or not kills that kid. She whacks the kid that's just like sucking on a lollipop. Like, I don't know. She's not really bad. She's not really evil, but there are definitely things in this episode where I'm like, dude, what is happening? Right? Just because you're in a magical, new, wonderful world doesn't mean you can just go like no rules and do whatever you want.
And then Cake has to learn that too. Like they're in this magical world. They're definitely got kind of the big eyes for the magic, but they're obviously operating in a way that it's kind of like, it's no rules. It's not my world. Like what's, the harm in playing with this little hot dog person and smacking a little piece of cotton candy upside the head. And I was about to say when she poked the little balloon animal with the stick, and I thought the whole thing was going to pop. And I was like, oh my gosh, that would have been like straight up murder. Like,
just popped its nose.
Yeah.
It's interesting. I'm so glad that you brought up the fact that she isn't a natural hero yet, because that was just so obvious to me. And thinking back to the very first episode of Adventure Time, and also thinking about the age, Fiona is in her 20s, I'm pretty sure, in this series. She should be, as kind of Finn's gender bent character, a hero, like a natural born hero. Finn in episode 1 has plenty of heroic attributes and abilities that aren't natural to most people. It's very fascinating to see her kind of fail at kicking something,
Yeah, and I think that may, when we kind of come back and do a postmortem of the whole entire show as a whole, that's going to be kind of like in this magic world, her and Cake become heroes and they become good, and they are, you know, fighting for a purpose and something. And maybe just being in that boring world with nothing going on, with what they kind of felt like was monotonous day over day over day, that adventuring, the ability to adventure, the magicness of a world that like you can adventure in is what brings out like your best traits, which is inherently Fiona being like the hero in the show and Cake being the hero.
Yeah.
They did that didn't even form until they're in the magic world, you know?
Yeah, we'll definitely see going forward. I haven't seen the next episode yet, as I said, but
yeah,
I think
it puts
within
a good
the
light
next 3 or 4, she's going to have something. There's going to be a moment. Like, what if Finn trains her? How crazy
that's kind of what I'm thinking too. Is if they're doing all the episodes based on character names, there has to be a Finn the human episode, right? And
Yeah,
I'd assume it has to do with Fiona and Cake, which would be kind of some sort of he becomes her Billy at the end of the day.
Ooh,
see what I'm saying? Because he's kind of older and ruffian like Billy was, and he can kind of train her up and, you know, hand over the keys to the treehouse if it you know, as it stands, you know.
Yeah, I mean, she's not exactly super young, but she's plenty young and plenty naive. She's getting drunk in the park with her best friends, drinking wine. I mean,
Yep.
You know, that feels very early 20s to me. I appreciate that.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know if that's illegal. Is that illegal? Can you do that? I don't know. They're so wasted. They're just illegal. Passing out, dude. No, yeah, but you can't be like drunk, passed out in public. Isn't that?
No.
I don't know.
That's illegal
okay?
too.
That's legal too?
No, that's public intoxication.
Public indecency. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's illegal.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like, they're just passing out in like the main fountain of the park. It's kind of silly. It's great. I love it.
Like I said, they live in a super boring world on purpose. I think, again, I don't want to spoil too much of what's yet to come, but our theories were pretty right. If I'm just going to spoil.
Well, you've been thinking about the theories, right? And Simon, they're coming out of Simon's head. That, I don't know if this is referencing Fooly Cooly. I've heard it being a Fooly Cooly-esque portal or scenario, because in Fooly Cooly, which is one of my favorite animes, the original series is 6 episodes long. It's on YouTube. Go watch it. It's very weird, but it's far more erotic the way they come out of people. It's more phallic the way that it comes out of people's heads. But characters come out of their heads and they're constantly talking about how boring and dull and just normal their world is until the portal opens up and things kind of go awry. I couldn't help but notice that as well, and notice that there are some similarities to some degree. But Kate comes out of Simon's head to begin with, and she mentioned that she was following a song, and she hums a song to Simon.
Yeah.
Ned, did you recognize that song? I had no idea.
I tried to Google it. I tried to see if there was Reddit threads on it. But Simon gets really upset at it. I think it's going to end up playing into something with Betty for sure. That like, this is like Betty's favorite song, or this is what and I tried to remember if it was from something specifically. So if anybody does know if this was like a Betty song from one of the later episodes of Adventure Time, let me know. Otherwise, I think it's something that we're going to be newly introduced to. That why that song itself is important.
Okay, yeah. Well, Kate comes out and almost gets run over by a car, and we see Astrid, I believe is her name. She's still there trying to get her book because she can't sleep without it. But I had my best laugh in this moment when Cake kind of jumps over a wall, and unbeknownst to her and the audience, she falls off of the human island and just free falls, and you're thinking, oh, she's going to die, or like this could be very damaging to her. And she's fine. She's a cat. Cats can fall from insane heights and be okay.
Oh, yeah. I had a note and I was like, how did she not die? And I forgot, like, was it cats don't have a terminal velocity? Like,
I believe
or their
something like that is the case.
Highest velocity that they can even reach falling is not enough to kill them.
I want to say I read somewhere, this is kind of random, 30 meters. If they're above 30 meters, they're less likely to get hurt than when they're below 30 meters or within that range. And I don't even know if that's true or not, but Cake goes and hits some trees and stuff. And we just have to assume, like maybe there isn't the terminal velocity isn't a thing for cats. I don't know. I'm very fat. I have to look that up.
I guess we'll just have to buy some cats and like throw them off the cliff and just,
I don't think we can do that.
It out,
Then we'd have to buy cats, and I can't do that, Ned. I don't like cats. I can't do that.
Don't want to buy the cats, unless even if you get to throw them. Well, I thought so she
not worth it.
passes out in the tree though, and then gets woken up by the butterfly, which I think is really cool. At the, I was trying to figure out before, is there any significance to the end credit scenes in each of the episodes when they're kind of dreaming? They have a dream bubble about something, and the one from last week, I think, is a butterfly with a smile on its back, perched on the bone mask of the magic bear. So this, I don't know if each little dream is just alluding to something in the next episode, from the last one and the next one, because like the dream from this one is now you just see it's apples in the back of a truck with the wheel falling off. We have the apples in this episode, so maybe the trucks in the next episode. Maybe. They might be doing like a give and take thing there, but I just thought it was cool to just note that the butterfly woke her up, and now we do know that they are doing something with those little dreams,
Ned, tell me about this damn ice wizard. What is going on with that guy? He's got a gem eye, chicken feet. Do we know?
And yes, we do. I'm trying to figure out how. This is one thing I had a big note. I'm not going to spoil anything, but
okay.
You did see that there are, obviously it's the ice. It's called the ice thing, by the way. Just we'll keep referring to it as that. The ice thing is missing one of the jewels. In the last episode, they do kind of a montage at the end of the show, and we see how the ice thing loses that one. It's just like, it's not like anything dramatic or anything. However, I do think, you know what? No, never mind. I'm going to save that for next week. Yeah, I just thought about something, and I'm going to save that for next week.
Let's save it, but we can talk about my lovely of this episode.
Okay, yeah,
which is
lovely.
Who we're introduced to next. It's the squirrel man.
Your squirrel? Oh, he was almost my most punchable.
Are you? There's no way, Ned. He's like so good.
I half love him for who he is, but then I half like he gives her the apple, and he's just like, "Oh yeah, I didn't tell you those are cursed. Now you have to come along with me." Like he does that to Finn in Up a Tree when he's like,
but he really didn't eat that apple in Up a Tree.
He's like, "Oh yeah, well I didn't tell you. Like apples make you smaller. Well, good luck." And he runs away, and I'm like, it's not good.
Yeah,
I don't know. He just seems like just enough to be untrustworthy, but also just enough to not like bail on him completely, and obviously save his life from his little creepy switchblade hanging out tree friends.
No, he's my lovely Ned because look, sorry I ran into you. Do you want to exchange information? Which the intro bit's great. Insurance, I love it. If you need it explained to you, I don't know why I did that. No, but he's just so good. He's oblivious. He's a squirrel. He's oblivious. He farms and sells cursed apples. He's constantly kind of second guessing himself. The poor guy. He is on the run from a cult nonstop, and he's still not a flying squirrel. In case you were curious, he's still just a normal squirrel, and sort of has that lazy attempt at the end of the episode where he sort of tries to help Cake, but really just throws a strawberry and misses, and then he goes, "Oh well," and then runs off. But it's his rants, it's his subtle comedy. I just can't help but love it. Mark Maron had to have taken some, I don't know, maybe improv or something, some sort of a role in helping to write that comedy because it did feel a little bit up his alley. But I just really enjoyed this. It's
kind of dry. That's good. I mean, like I enjoyed him, like I said, but it wasn't my. It's not my favorite character in this episode. It wasn't my favorite character in the Up a Tree episode either.
Might be this my lovely.
Gives me a weird vibe.
Episode 2.
Do you want to know my lovely?
Yeah, I would love to.
I wanted to call him just the stick man, but I realized that was kind of too vague. But
in it for like 2 seconds or half a second?
Yeah, the squiggly stick man. Like the tiny, there was lots of like log men and like stump men, but the tiny squiggly stick man with like the big cartoon looking eyes was definitely my lovely of the episode, because that is
well, you have to explain that. You got to explain.
It's got to be one of my favorite designs of like a sentient being of adventure, like not just like a bear or a dog or like something that shouldn't be alive that's alive. I think that's one of my favorite designs of that so far, like in the entire show. I just thought it looked hilarious. I want adventures of Squiggly Twig.
Well, man, my lovely is freaking trying to run away from his bossy ass old roommates that wouldn't allow him to do anything before he left the tree, and then cue his kind of tree like PTSD, I guess, of being in a cult like moment, which is again a great little giggle for me. But he's just trying to sell apples, man, and they're just hunting him down and trying to get him. And Cake saves the day with her scratches, her little scritches.
Just
being going feral. Yeah, going feral, boys.
Yeah, it leads me back to, when did we talk? We talked about this like forever ago. As a theoretically speaking, from just an old episode from season 4 about how like, is the oxygen level in ooh enough to make like humans, like old humans, not new humans, and not like beings of ooh, like stronger / more powerful? Because Fionna doesn't seem to have any skill. Cake is just a cat, and Cake ends up fighting off, all of these woodland creatures, porcupine, an owl with a switchblade, a cyborg squirrel, or cyborg beaver, cyborg squirrel.
I don't know. I couldn't tell.
As just a cat. And I think it just goes back into my, all theoretically speaking, that like you as kind of like an OG true human / person of the world have like a little bit of extra human power, a little bit of extra strength than normal.
No doubt. I wonder what the gravity is there too. Like there's so many things that we just don't really have a realistic, example for or reasoning for. But
yeah,
I don't know. I'm curious about that as well. I mean, Fiona's not super powerful. She can't jump super high. She's kind of stuck in like what we would assume to be like worldly boundaries or things that we could do. And Finn could, I don't know, man, do double backflips on flat land to a higher branch or something stupid like that,
Yeah, big time. Yeah,
interesting.
The way that Finn does it, maybe you have to train with the gravity, but it would make sense. The Earth got like getting knocked off an axis and gravity being shifted, and you never know.
Yeah, maybe it would be less, right? Because a giant part of the Earth is missing.
Yeah, that's like whatever explosion happened could have knocked the Earth off its normal like gravitational. Was it a gravitational axis or something like that? Also has a different gravitational pull if it has a different mass to it too.
No, we're getting into we don't have degrees for this conversation. We need to move on.
That's the point.
What I do have a degree for? I've got a degree for talking about market stands, because that's what I want to talk about.
You want to talk about market stands? I
want to talk about the market stands. They are so damn good, dude. I got 5 market stands that were my favorite that I saw, which is this episode is full of little bits and jokes. If you aren't loving this episode, go back and rewatch it and maybe try to focus on that aspect of it, because there are so many good ones. The market stands are okay portraits, which I think he's drawing a house or something, and it's some sort of an animal. So not even a portrait of the animal at all. Stuff I found in an old well.
That was my favorite one.
Yeah, that's a great one. Some tree dude who's selling things that he found in an old well. Very Zelda-esque of him. Please, comma, the fish, which clever comma. I mean, if that comma is anywhere else, that's an interesting stand. Please, the fish. The next one is My Finest Offspring, which is a hilarious title for a stand. And then My Neighbor's Things is my favorite one, where it's just some dude who just stole things from his neighbor and started selling them.
And started selling them. So that it alludes to either everything in this market is either stolen or cursed at the end of the day. I think it's kind of cool too, man, because I love looking at this marketplace and how massive it is, right? And it's huge. Like now it's like layers on top of each other. It seems like there's just hundreds and hundreds of these vendors. But in the past, we would see the marketplace and we only saw in the episode where Finn gets the armor, that there was probably only like 20 vendors, maybe tops, and it was kind of like just a little baby village. That now I think this kind of growing economy of Ooh now has this centralized hub of marketplace, which is cool.
Yeah, and it feels a little bit like a black market of sorts, because some of the things that are being sold probably shouldn't be sold. I mean, one of them's like fancy weapons or something like that. You know, I mean, you can't just be going around selling that anywhere. But it's a great scene, and of course, the angry fruit, or what is it, special fruit with the angry guy. I don't know what his power is, the berry or something. Yeah, and for whatever reason, bananas aren't for sale, which that's a great little bit in there. But as the squirrel is doing the rant that I said at the beginning of this episode, just talking about being an apple trader for his life, and the pros and cons of that, I suppose, is all that's happening. If you notice, Kate the cat kind of turns into a penis for a moment, and I'm for sure gonna have to post about it. But it's way too obvious.
A penis, or if it was just
dog.
I got the inkling that it was just like a huge butt, like her butt grew really big. But I didn't pick up on phallic shapes. But I think you're probably right there.
Well, I'm not
probably
trying.
Wrong
I mean, I'm not trying to say I'm constantly picking up on phallic shapes. I said it twice this episode, but
Russell's always looking for the wiener in each show.
No, whatever. Yeah, you got me, Ned. You got me. Cake song. Can we talk about Cake song? Let's move on.
What did you think about Cake song? I had mixed reviews.
Yeah, I think I did too. Cake is just fully embracing this new world and just totally loving it. Something to gnaw on, something to claw on. But again, it's that moment where it's like, Cake, you're being a bad guy. You're kind of destroying half the marketplace while you're doing this. The pillow guy that you mentioned earlier was cheering for you, was clapping for you. And you ripped him in half.
I was going to say, like, despite what's going on during the song itself, the only couple of things that peeved me is the way it ended. It's just her going like, gnawing and clawing and clawing and gnawing, and it kind of like went on a little too long, a little bit.
Okay.
But it also got cut like in the middle. Like it starts, I love the way the song starts. I love kind of the first part of the song. Then it cuts to a different scene and then cuts back to her finishing the song. So I think it kind of threw me off that the first part of the song I thought was really, really good and fun and had good rhythm. And then the kind of end of it just gets chaotic. And I did like the end of it. So
do you
half and half.
Yeah, I feel okay about it. I honestly, it didn't hit like my top favorite songs of this season so far. But it's good. It's fun. I'm curious though, do you have any thoughts on the hot dog going from being sentient to being just a normal hot dog? Is there anything about that strikes you? I mean, it's got to be Prismo, right? Or some sort of a
Prismo. The blip, it's the same sound blip that whenever Prismo, like when Prismo, which like when he sent Jake the pickles, it's that same blip noise. And when you slow it down, it is his like coloration. I think. And we had it as our theoretically speaking, but the fact that I don't know how to say this without kind of super spoiling it, but the fact that Fionna and Cake are not in their own universe, I think has the ability to mess up aspects of this universe. Like it's kind of like what oh my gosh,
no, I agree.
There's some sort of movie that they go like,
that was my theory as well.
Yeah, you're not supposed to be here, and then it like messes up the physics of stuff, like pretty much.
Yeah, totally. It's just going against the
Prismo
laws
magic.
of whatever the world is, right? I thought it was just straight up their presence, Fionna and Cake's presence, and is messing up some sort of a fabric of the universe. Like there are things that are allowed to be happening. You can go from one dimension to another dimension if your dimensions are linked by some sort of a portal. But you can't go from whatever, mind world or someone's mind that Fionna and Cake were living in to the main world. That was the only thing I could think of. And so that's why Prismo has it beeping on his remote. In my mind was, hey, this is warning. You got to fix this because this should not be the case. And I haven't seen the next episode.
remember how we said, like, are these the true Fionna and Cake? And then once the Ice King turned back to Simon, you know, their world just became normal. It lost all the magic. So them being around all of this magic stuff, maybe they essentially, like, Cake smacking the hot dog sucked the magic out of it, essentially, because it's like almost like everything that they touch, they can kind of infect it with their quote unquote like boring worldness.
Yeah. Smacking the hot dog sucked the magic out of it.
Smacking the magic out of that hot dog.
Ned Pruitt, quote it. Everybody, post that on Twitter.
Smack the magic out of that hot dog.
No,
overall, though,
those are good thoughts, Ned. Those are actually really good thoughts. I like that a lot.
I mean, really, I don't have too much on this episode. Like, it's like you hit the hammer on the head when you just said, you know, it was really fun. I like how it bridged the gap. It brought them into the world without it just, again, feeling like we're all just like, everything's mega dramatic. It can still be adventure timey. And then my last thing I really, really liked about the episode is that essentially as soon as Cake gets there, realizes everything's magic, slept super great in the grass under the tree or whatever. Cake's like, I don't think I really need Fionna anymore. Like, Cake's almost, until Cake gets put in the stocks, obviously, Cake's like ready to move on with her life.
Yeah. Which is the opposite of Fionna. Fionna gets there, she's freaking pumped about this new world, and also has a really creepy, weird interaction with Simon, where Simon's like throwing the evil juice goose at her face and like rubbing it in her head and being like, basically ranting about like, you're not real. This is just a manifestation of Ice King's madness. And then you have, again, creepy technology with Astrid being able to take a hair of Kate the cat and find exactly where she was. Kind of weird. But she's totally just like, okay, I got to go find my girl. I got to go find Cake. And then we can enjoy this world. That's her only priority.
Yeah. That's the huge thing, is that Cake just like immediately runs off, falls, and then she's like just having the time of her life in this market. And again, I guess it's the first time you kind of gain as a cat, like, I can talk with everybody around me and I'm like a functioning member of the society here, versus their old life, right? But then Fionna wants the magic in the world, and she loves this new human, you know, crazy futuristic vibe. But the first thing she does is immediately leaves that to go find Cake. Like, doesn't want to go explore, doesn't want to go I don't know, get a snack. Like, she just immediately hops on the bike with Astrid. And I love how Astrid also like thinks that Fionna's just cosplaying. The cosplay, like, wow,
just
you're
another
like,
super fan.
Wow, that's like that's so method acting. Yeah, that's so method, man. Like, but it's cool. Glad that she gets the hat. That's for sure. So you start to get that little taste that you're going to have true Fionna and Cake coming up.
Do you want more Astrid? Do you want Astrid to come back?
I don't want too much more Astrid, except for the fact that they might be having her in this show enough. So however it ends, Fiona's going to pass the torch to her. That essentially,
maybe one day
she's going to be maybe not the key, but a piece of the puzzle that comes together at the end.
Hey man, from fan to hero. I mean, is that not what Finn was? Finn was a fan of Billy's, and then eventually became the hero himself.
Exactly. So I think they're teeing it up very well, either apprentice style or a passing of the torch, a next generation mentality that Astrid's the next generation for sure.
Dude, I don't think I had a most punchable character this episode. Maybe the owl. I kind of, he's got a nice little dagger thing going on, but I don't know. I could do without those animals. I like the squirrel for himself, just constantly kind of debating internally, like whether or not he's on the right path. And hey, I feel like that's me. Maybe that's why he's my lovely. I'm just constantly like, do I, my lesson, actually, we can get into my lesson real fast because it's kind of it relates to this entirely, actually. My lesson was work on instinct. And if you need a snack, go get a snack. I mean, shoot. And then I was going to say, do I like working my 9 to 5? That doesn't fully, that knows where this is going. That doesn't fully align with my hopes and dreams? No. Do I take advantage of the snacking opportunities that my job provides? Yes. Would I like to move closer to my friends and family? Yes. Am I ready to stop working in the music industry? No. My instincts are telling me that I gotta go get a snack, Ned. So we gotta wrap this one up.
But we gotta wrap this one up. I got some kava waiting on me. I got a big old bowl of kava waiting on me. I'm excited.
But that's my lesson: is work on instinct. And I don't know. I don't know if it really relates all that much, but that's what Cake was doing, and Cake was kind of being a bad person. So maybe don't work on instinct.
Maybe don't work on instinct. Maybe figure yourself out pretty well. But I had one lesson. It pertains to that. The same. If you got a good song to sing, don't screw other people's up doing a stupid singing montage to sing it out loud. Don't do that. Don't be a drama kid that just sings your drama songs in the hallway and knocks everything over because you're singing your spring musical song.
No, be a drama kid. Be
a drama kid. Don't go knocking around.
Don't be a douche about it.
Don't be a douche about it. Yeah, don't be a douche about singing your songs. Maybe that
goes for anybody. Lesson. That goes for sports kids. Just all the kids, you know.
True. Very true.
Man, it is cool. I gotta say, I'm really loving this spinoff. And it doesn't even feel like a spinoff. Like I think this has been, so far, 3 episodes in, one of my favorite sequel series that I've seen in a long time. And I think I'm liking it not more than season 5 so far, because season 5 has started off so good.
I'm going to tell you, man, for next episode, it's going to be a little hard to not spoil a few things. But man, the next episode, I can tell you, it ties up a lot of loose ends and it gives a lot of explainer, and it almost leads me to believe like what they had planned with Fionna and Cake was supposed to be in the original show, and they just kind of like ran out of opportunity to like finish their little puzzle that they started. And so I love the fact that they're just finishing this out, and it's phenomenal. It's very well thought through, and it's, in the past, I was just like, oh man, they're just like screwing with people and like making up canon out of the blue. And now it's like all explained. So I'm very excited to chat through next week.
Damn. I love that, dude. What's your lesson? Do you have
that was my lesson.
Oh, that was your lesson?
Remember, that's right. Don't be a dick singing your songs.
I just didn't like it, so I guess I didn't listen to it.
didn't think it was good enough. It wasn't as
no, it's a great lesson. It's a great lesson.
Lessons.
I don't want to discourage anyone from singing, because I just love singing. So I'm just messing that.
Well, where can all these lovelies now follow us, since today is our Patreon launch day?
I know. We should have mentioned this at the beginning of the episode. We've got a link tree. Go click on it. It's on all our socials, and it'll take you. There's a chance for you to sign up as a patron to support the podcast. It'll help us so much with paying, production, and then also cost of stickers and things like that. And just, the amount of time that we've put into this. But regardless, it's all if you want to support. You don't have to, but there is another podcast that we're doing on the Patreon called NEA and Beyond that you'll get if you're a $5 or $10 subscriber, which are called Lovelies and Sexies, of course. But if you just want to give to the podcast and don't necessarily need to listen to NEA and Beyond, there's also a $1 option where you could sign up. Just kind of help support us a little bit, help us pay our bills.
For only the cost of a cup of coffee a month.
Oh my gosh, I hate that though. No, but yeah, literally, if you do the $1, you'll get the newsletter, and then you will also get the ability to vote in polls if we ever have polls for like what to talk about on an episode or something like that, or like what do you think about something, and I'm sure it will guide as we move forward how the podcast progresses, like what spinoff, what movie should we do in between seasons, that sort of a thing. So very excited about that. But if you're a 5 or 10 tier, which are basically the same, it's just do 10 if you can financially give that and want to. Because for some reason you like us that much. I don't know.
Because you want to be called a sexy.
Yeah, you want to be called a sexy. That's for sure. It's weird being having people be patrons for you, but we've had a few people sign up already, and I'm incredibly thankful and honored that they would support this thing that we're doing. But anyways, you can support us even just by checking us out on Instagram at Never Ending Adventure Podcast, Twitter at Never Ending Adventure Cast. No, that's not right. TikTok, Never Ending Adventure Cast, Twitter, NEA_podcast. Email us your thoughts, your opinions. Get on the Traveler's Log at nea.travelerslog@gmail.com. Y'all, I'm just so excited this week. I do have a rec for you. And maybe I've done this before. I didn't look to see if I've done this before. Ned, my rec, wow, there was a kid that just screamed outside, and that sounded terrifying. Yeah, that was wild. My rec is the Arctic Monkeys. I don't know. Yeah. Are you a fan? Do you like the Arctic Monkeys?
I don't dislike their music. I think I tried diving in really, really deep, maybe like a junior or senior in high school. And at the time, it didn't line up with my music taste because I was a little angstier as a 17-year-old. Now, every time I do hear them, I'm like, that's enjoyable. Like, I would put that on, during a dinner party or, like while I'm like relaxing. Okay. But I've never gone like a deep listen through them.
Yeah, and I think you were angsty in the pop punk form, correct? In that time period.
Yes.
So this, I will say, the first two records, especially that first record, is super angsty in a unapologetically British way, which I just absolutely love. And I'm going to see them live tomorrow, which I've always wanted to see a live Arctic Monkeys concert. So I'm thrilled. I'm so pumped. If you haven't listened to them before, or if you've listened to AM, because AM was like all over the world and was like an international, had a couple hits on there. Do I Want to Know? And then maybe, can't think of the other big song, Are You Mine? Those were pretty big songs, but I would highly recommend the first two records. They're just like raw, kind of punky British rock music. And it just feels so good and so angsty in the best kind of a way. I mean, I think that first record's called Whatever You Say I Am, That's What I'm Not, which just is so wordy, so ridiculous. Why? I love it. It's great. Go check it out. I bet that You Look Good on the Dance Floor is the main single from that record, and it's phenomenal. Now, what's your rec?
My rec is a really good, really scary movies for spooky season. So not any one in particular, just this and I didn't want to go spooky season as a whole either, but watching like all the scary movies. Like last night, my wife and I watched Friday the 13th, which it ended and I was like, man, that did not hold up in the realm of like actually being scary. So she went to bed and I watched the new Evil Dead movie, which was just gore and demons and intense. And I was like, I like cozy little spooky season nights with a good old scary movie. So that's my recommendation.
Yeah, that's great. Dude, Nun 2 is all over Max, HBO Max.
Yeah, I didn't like the first. The first one was dumb. Well, I might still watch the new one, but
it freaks me out. The commercial scares me. I don't like
That's the thing. The first Nun movie, all the scary parts were in the commercial. Nothing in the movie was scarier than what was in the commercial. So that was pretty bummed.
That's great. Well, hey, y'all, thank you so much for joining us. We'll be back as soon as we can. I think we got to take maybe a little bit longer off than we had planned with some of these. Because we just have a lot going on.
Trips and travels and weddings and craziness. So we're going to be doing Simon Petrikov, getting that up as early as possible next week, getting this one up as early as possible.
I think Simon's already out.
Oh no, I'm saying when we put it out. So we'll be putting out maybe Simon and not Simon Petrikov, Prismo.
Prismo.
Episode, as soon as possible, and then Prismo might be right. They'll release them next Thursday night. So we'll probably be recording sometime next weekend too. So
yeah, we'll just do the best we can. We got a lot going on, but we're super pumped to be going through this series, and we're so glad you're all here. And if, like I said, if you can support us on Patreon, it means the world. And yeah, party forever.
That's what you gave.